I told you I'd tell you the juicy details. So there's been a lot of unexpected costs, and if you try and cut corners on that, you're just going to end up spending more money in the long run. There's no reason to rush. So that's the big expense that we just decided to go for. Does that answer your question? I'm not really sure. Welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about money, renovations, homes, and investing and saving, all those good things, because I don't think it's spoken enough about, and I don't think it's spoken enough about by women to other women. So that's the point of today's video. I answered all of your questions that you sent over on Instagram on Our Cornish Cottage, and I'm gonna get into all the juicy details. I'm not gonna hold back. I'm gonna be honest about it because I think that'll be really helpful for a lot of you. I wanna see more women talking about money online and sharing their hard work and how they're spending their money and opening up about that, because yeah, we don't talk about it enough. So let's get into it. First things first, I want to say thank you so much to Female Invest for sponsoring this video and also inspiring me to make this video, because like I said, I don't think women talk enough openly about finances, and it's something that I'm increasingly more passionate about. So first of all, women are earning less, we're saving less, and therefore we're investing less. And when we're keeping our savings in savings accounts with low interest rates, we're losing value to that money due to inflation. And because we're not doing this, we're losing out on the potential growth that we could gain from investing, and then women fall behind compared to men. This is happening all around the world in every single country. Secondly, if you're not investing your money into companies that you believe in, that you want to grow, you're losing out on that opportunity to redistribute your wealth. Sustainable investment is something that I'm really passionate about. You can choose a pension that's sustainable, you can choose investments that are sustainable. And again, I don't think this is something that's spoken about enough. Even the bank that you choose is important when it comes to sustainability, so you're not funding fossil fuels. I think there's a misconception that when it comes to investing, it is time consuming, it's confusing, it's only for those who have lots of spare money, only for those who have loads and loads of wealth, and that is not the case. Investing can be for anyone. If you have a job and if you have income, then you can invest some of that money for your future and into companies that you believe in. And Female Invest's goal is to empower women to learn about investing. So they have a membership, which means that you can access their videos, webinars, their online community, animations, all about investing. I do have a discount code if you want to go get a membership with Female Invest. If you're looking to invest your money and you don't know where to start, I would highly recommend them. I'll leave it for you down below and on the screen here so you get a little discount. And yeah, thanks again to them for sponsoring this video. It's something that I'm so passionate about. I just think we should all be getting more into this sort of topic and empowering every woman out there to do this so that we can actually catch up and not be left behind by men. So with all of that said, let's get talking about money and let's get talking about home renovations, because I think a lot of us, well, I know a lot of you who are watching are women, but a lot of us who are renovating our homes are women and wanting to renovate our homes and make our homes a sanctuary that we can enjoy. And we need to be sensible about where we're spending our money, how we're saving, how we're budgeting, and not overextending ourselves. Before I even get into the questions, I want to emphasize that, because having an emergency fund is so important. I think it's about 3 months worth of your personal earnings you want to have in an emergency fund. Alex and I personally always, no matter what, I did this years ago after getting into finances, we built up our emergency fund. I think we started with like £1,000 each because that's all we could afford. Just as an emergency, we don't touch it. It's there just to be safe. And I cannot even begin to tell you the peace of mind it gives me to know that I have that money sitting there in a bank account that does not get touched, because it is literally there as a cushion. If any of you are renovating your homes or doing anything that you need to spend your money on, budgeting, please, I beg of you, put aside that emergency fund first before you start spending your money, because it's the biggest tip I could ever give anybody when it comes to earnings. So let's get into the questions. So the first question that was asked quite a few times was, which were the most unexpected costs you've had to deal with, or what's a hidden cost most people wouldn't expect? Lots of you asked about this. Our unexpected cost was rewiring the electricity in the house. I talked about this on Instagram and I shared this whole situation, and I don't know if it's come up on YouTube yet, but the video will be coming, so you'll see what happened there. But basically, we got an electrical test when we moved in, which is very important. Definitely recommend anyone who's buying a house to get an electrical test as soon as you move, so that you know everything's safe. And if it isn't, you can get it fixed. So they did that, and then they came back to start work on the electrics, mainly fitting new sockets and fitting new light toggles and doing a few things with the fuse box, with our thermostat. And as they were doing that, literally the day they finished, just as they're about to leave, Alex noticed that because we'd replaced all of our sockets and all of our light switches with metal sockets and light switches, he felt a bit of a vibration, almost like a very slight shock. So they were just about to leave and they're like, oh, we really need to check this. So they tore all of them off the walls, tried to figure it out, and they couldn't see a problem. They then had to come back for literally about a whole week after that to rewire all of the electrics because they realised that none of them had an earth. I think a lot of the sockets and a lot of the light fittings and the stuff around the house had been DIY'd and not done in the official way it's supposed to be done, and therefore there was live voltage sitting and they needed to earth it somewhere. So they had to do that, and that is a huge unexpected cost. It's ended up costing us, I think they sent the quote through, £3,500, which we did not expect. Another unexpected cost in this house is just things being broken that we thought were working. So both fireplaces are not safe for use. We had people come around and they basically said to us, there's lots of things going wrong here. They're not lined, they're not HETAS certified. So that's the work that's going on downstairs at the minute, that we're doing one of the fireplaces, the one in our kitchen. And they are also both £3,000 to £4,000 each because you have to get them, the chimney sorted, all of it lined. We're actually also repointing the stone. That's not an essential though, that's a choice that we made. We didn't need to do that. And also purchase a new wood burner. So both of them, you know, it's close to, I think it's about £4,000 for each of them. And that's an unexpected cost. I thought that we would, you know, be able to use both of those fireplaces, and maybe when we redecorated, I thought we might change the living room one because I'm not in love with the look of it, but I did not see that being something that we'd be doing this soon. Similarly, the oven was broken, so we had to buy an oven. The roof, when we moved in, we knew it was leaking. That came up in the survey, and we thought we just had to fix a piece of the roof and just, you know, fix the leak. So we have to re-roof the entire garage, and that's going to be, I think, £4,000. So that's another unexpected cost. So those are the unexpected costs. There always will be unexpected costs when it comes to old houses, even new houses. So it's definitely important to consider that and budget for it when you are setting aside your budget for buying a home. The next question is, how do you plan the cost? So Excel spreadsheets with the quotes, final price. So when we came to buy a house, when we decided we wanted to sell our old house, we basically obviously figured out how much a house was going to be put on the market for. Then when we were applying for our mortgage, that's a really helpful time for you to analyse your earnings, your outgoings, your ingoings, and calculate your average salary. If you're self-employed like us, we get different amounts each month, so we sort of try to calculate an average, how much we expected our mortgage payments to be, how much we expected our bills to be. Obviously the bills especially is a guesstimate, but Alex tried to guess it based on the size of the house, and therefore you can then come up with a budget for how much money you would be able to spend on a house. And we decided to buy a house which we would have money to renovate with, which was appropriate for this particular house because we knew it needed work. But in terms of like quotes and stuff, I think the most important thing is to keep everything in one place so you can see it all and you can write it down, and make sure you're regularly adding up the money that you have saved and the quotes that are coming in so that you can put things in a priority list. Like Alex and I definitely have a list of priorities, which is getting things fixed and sorted and safe, and then the kitchen and getting that, you know, looking good. And then after that, we'll see. I just think it's being aware. You don't have to have necessarily an Excel spreadsheet written up perfectly, but just make sure that you're aware of what everything is costing and you're not overextending yourself. So a few of you were asking, how did you decide what to splash out more money on and what to economize on? And I think this is a really good question. So what things should you pay the big bucks on, and which ones should you try and scrape? So I think it goes without saying, things like hiring professional skilled tradesmen who know how to change electrics. Don't scrimp on that and try and do that yourself because it's not safe. Things like, you know, we're doing our fireplace. It's not a job that I have the skill to do, so I would rather pay someone who is much more skilled and who understands how to do it safely and properly. Things like a fireplace need to be done properly because I'm pretty sure it's illegal anyway to not do it properly or get it HETAS certified. Don't worry about how much that is costing because you're paying money for a skilled labourer to do a job that is safe and good. And if you try and cut corners on that, you're just going to end up spending more money in the long run. Places where I would economise are things like decorating. If you're able to pick up a paintbrush, decorate yourself. Things like furniture, buy things secondhand, hunt for bargains, try and sell stuff that you have and replace it for something that you would prefer. Things like buying, you know, the latest trends or designer tiles or, you know, fabrics. You don't have to splurge on those things. You can get things really affordably. I think finishing touches is where you can economize on really, really well. We did it in our old house. You saw I bought most of my stuff from my bathroom from Facebook Marketplace, but I splurged on hiring out professionals to do the job properly. Do you have a Pinterest board for inspiration? I will leave that linked below. Would you rather compromise on something or wait till you can afford it if you can't have it now? 100% wait. I think that there's a lot online when it comes to renovating, which is like go, 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 rush, rush, rush. People moving in and they've renovated the house before they've moved in, and they've been renting whilst there have been workmen doing the entire house, which is great if that's something that works for you. But for a lot of people, you're selling one house and the money and the equity in the old house is going towards the purchase of the next house, so you have to move in. And then you have to take the renovations as you go. So don't feel pressured by watching TV shows where people get it done really quickly, or influencers online who are renovating their home like that. It's much better if it is your forever home, or if it's a home you see yourself in for like the next 10 years or so. Take your time with it. For example, we want to fix our Aga. Turns out that's quite an expensive thing to do. It's about £7,000, like nearly £4,000 to change it to electric, and similar to refurbish it. And so because we've been paying for other things like our windows and like the kitchen, we're not doing our Aga until next year, and there's no reason to rush. Where do you regret putting your money in the last one, and where will you invest this time? Now this is a really interesting question. So I think the only regret I have with my old house is that we kind of went for more expensive finishes because I thought we were going to be living there for a lot longer, and it turned out that we didn't. Because of COVID. I've told this story in our moving house video, I'll link it up here. But when we decided to move house, it was partly because in the UK they did this initiative which meant that you didn't have to pay tax when you moved home. There's a thing called stamp duty, which means you have to pay a percentage of the house that you're purchasing's price as tax. And they scrapped that up to a certain amount, so I think up to like £500,000 of a house purchase, you didn't have to pay stamp duty, which is a lot of money. That meant that some of the costs that I had done, like for example our shutters in our old home, they ain't cheap, they're expensive. If I would go back, I probably wouldn't do the shutters, and I would just put blinds or curtains or whatever, because it's much more affordable. Other things like doing the floorboards, that was another expense, which was great because we restored them back to new. But I think another expensive job that I probably in hindsight would have just carpeted if I knew that we were leaving so soon. The bathroom, I think was worth it because I think that helped sell the house, and it was such a beautiful bathroom to enjoy, so I don't regret anything there. I think that it was a real selling point, made the house very saleable, as they say. So if you're living in a home now that you know one day you're gonna sell, go for the option that still makes you happy and it looks good, but it's not the most expensive that maybe you'll regret down the line. Windows. Looking to replace some of our windows, I'm scared how much it costs. Yes, this is an extremely expensive job to do. It's one of the things that when we purchased this house, I knew when I looked at these windows, they need to be changed, they need to be restored, or I need to get new ones. It's one of the jobs we did first in our old home. We got 2 different quotes for our windows, and it's expensive. We've got like 8, 9 windows. They're really big Georgian windows. To restore them was about half the price as to get new ones. And I think each window, let me get this right. So this is for wooden windows. New bespoke double glazed sash windows is £1,695 for each window. And then also there's VAT on top of that, and also the fitting costs. So for each window, I think they quoted about £90 to fit them. So you could do the math, it's a lot of money, but it's something that we knew and we budgeted when we decided to buy this house. So that's a big expense that we just decided to go for. I told you I'd tell you the juicy details. So how to deal with quotes, are they accurate or not? I think the biggest thing when it comes to quotes is to get as many as you can if you're unsure. So if you find a company and you're a bit like, I'm not really sure about that quote, it seems kind of steep, go and speak to 2 or 3 others, hear their opinions, ask them loads of questions, say like, what are the options? So if we're talking about windows, I spoke to, I think 3 people in the end, and you want to ask them, you know, what the options are. They all have very different opinions. They all share different information because they're experts in what they do. So it's important to get different opinions and different quotes, and then you can get a kind of ballpark idea. We did have an understanding about windows because of our old homes. We kind of knew how much they cost, and you can get advice. So like we rang up the guy who did our old windows in our old house and asked for his advice. And then like with our fireplace, for example, we spoke to the people who did our old fireplace. We've actually gone with someone different. But we got, it's good to get different quotes, and if you can see that they're generally the same, then that's just the going rate. Or maybe there's a reason why someone's a bit cheaper and you can speak to them about that, but don't go in, just get one quote and just take it as read and be like, right, great, that's how much it costs. Because there might be some things there that you're not questioning. Why is that cost? Is it because the materials that they're using are more expensive? Or is it because they do it in a different way to this other company that maybe has a different view on how things should be done? And also to get recommendations from people, because that's how you're going to find trusted tradesmen, and you're going to get realistic quotes that are fair and that are, the general going rate. It's more difficult if you're finding somebody online and you're not entirely sure. Obviously that sometimes happens, but a lot of the tradesmen we have here are from recommendations from my parents who've just been doing work at their house, and then asking them who they know and then who they know. Is investing in built-ins worth it compared to freestanding furniture? Any ways to save? So I actually don't think that this is necessarily about cost for us. It's about practicality and what you prefer. So with our cupboards in our kitchen, for example, we needed the storage. Our kitchen actually isn't that big in terms of the storage space. There's like one wall of units, which in most kitchens you'd have like two walls. Most kitchens of that size, you'd have like an L shape or maybe a U-shaped kitchen. When actually we just had the one wall, and then we had the island, and we had a small pantry cupboard. So there was only one pantry cupboard, and I love cooking, I love making recipes, I have a lot of equipment, so I wanted to get the extra storage, and I knew long term that it wasn't going to cut it just having some dressers there. There's just not enough room, so I knew that built-in storage was a long-term investment that would make a massive difference, apart from the fact that the shape of our kitchen's slightly awkward because none of the walls are straight. So we've got a fireplace, which means that juts out, and then an Aga, then that juts out. So we couldn't fit our fridge, we couldn't fit like a big fridge freezer anywhere. So we got two separate fridge freezer units built in. And essentially we bought a new bespoke pine kitchen from a carpenter. But that made sense for what we needed. And I was a bit like, if I buy or if I keep these dressers or whatever, I'm just gonna eventually have to get new units down the line, and I didn't want to splurge on a whole new kitchen because I, number one, thought I was wasteful because the kitchen is made from pine and it's beautiful, but also because it was an unnecessary cost. So we've decided to zhuzh the kitchen up and make it right for us as it is, rather than, trying to rip it all out and start from scratch or anything. Does that answer your question? I'm not really sure. So invest in built-ins if it's something that's within your budget, and also it's something that you know that you need for storage. Otherwise, freestanding furniture is fine if you don't need that much storage, and if it's like a nice look for the room that you're after. There are some amazing dresser units and cupboards that you can buy secondhand that don't cost very much money, but it depends if that's enough for you. Why did you use a carpenter instead of a kitchen company? The main reason we did this because it would have been more expensive if we got a kitchen company to do what we wanted. So our walls are very like uneven, and to get bespoke wood cupboards of that size, there's like a freezer cupboard, a fridge cupboard, there's a window seat, and there's two ginormous cupboards either side of that. I imagine would have been at least double the price. I mean, I spoke to my mum about it, and who'd just done her kitchen. I also spoke to a kitchen company, and it's the sort of thing that if you're getting a whole new kitchen, maybe if it's not wood, maybe if it's MDF or a different material, then you can do deals with kitchen companies because you're doing a whole new kitchen and everything kind of is included, and they can knock this off that. But because the things we needed were very specific and we're not doing a whole new kitchen, we're just kind of getting a few cupboards to fill it out, that affects things. Also, I just liked the idea of getting someone in to do exactly what we needed, bespoke like that, because I get the vibe that that's how the kitchen was done before, because it looks very handmade and homemade, and I just wanted it to have that same feeling. So this is a good one. How to balance choosing more expensive eco-ethical options against being on a budget. When it comes to being sustainable, there's only so much you can do. So obviously certain decisions you want to make sustainably. So maybe someone would be like, I want to change my boiler to be a heat pump because that's more sustainable than having oil, for example. But is that doable in my home with, completely replumbing the whole house? Like for us, for example, I did consider that as an option, looked into it, And that would just be an extortionate thing for us to do. So you can't always do the most eco-friendly thing. So same goes for the Arga. Right now it's running on oil. I would love to change it to an electric Arga, but that's gonna have to wait till next year. And then it can run on our solar panels and be entirely renewable and self-sustaining. I think you have to just basically have a set of scales and think, what is the necessity of this thing that I need to do, and what is the eco-friendly thing, and are those scales tipping one way or the other? So there are certain things that I think are quite easy to make more sustainable. So things like buying as much as you can secondhand, buying as much as you can from ethical local companies, you know, going to shops locally to you rather than ordering things online from different countries abroad. Also using natural materials, so using lots of wood, using less things like plastic. We are currently rendering our fireplace with lime plaster rather than cement. We're putting the wood burners in so that we can try and heat as much of the home with wood rather than oil, fossil fuels, so we can limit the amount of oil we're using. And there's also things you can buy like coffee logs, which are made from ground up leftover coffee. There's lots of things you can do, like for example us changing the windows I see as a sustainable change for our house because it will lose less heat, so we'll have to use less heat, less oil, less fossil fuels. It's all very dependent on your own home, so weigh those options up and see, can I just afford to just go for secondhand furniture, or could I afford the more expensive things like actually changing and retrofitting my home to be more eco-friendly? Like, you have to weigh that up. Where is your floor rug from, and is it scratchy on the feet? I assume you mean the one in the kitchen. It's from IKEA, and no it's not, it's actually really soft, quite jute. How do you afford it all? It's amazing. Now this is something I do want to address a little bit, because I can't sit here and kind of go on about how you need to budget and save and whatever, when Alex and I are very lucky in our job that the money that we earn from our videos and the brands we work with and the job we have enables us to do this, because we're not in the majority. YouTube influencers, content creators are earning good money, and they can therefore renovate their homes, show that off online and be like, woohoo, look what we did. And it can make people feel a bit isolated and a little bit like, wow, how have they been able to afford that and I can't? It's just the reality of this industry that people get paid quite well, and I'm not going to be shy about saying that, because I think that then that creates a bit of smoke and mirrors around like people thinking that they don't have enough money to do what people online are doing. You know, when you see people flaunting all of their, you know, lovely clothing and their jewelry and makeup and cars and homes, it can make you feel a bit like, how come they can afford that? A lot of it is because of the job that they have, and a lot of it is because of maybe where they've come from. Maybe they've got money from their family, their background. So I don't want to make a video about home renovation costs and all this without pointing that out, that we're very lucky, we're very privileged, we're very in a position where we can afford to do this, because it's kind of our job to make videos about our renovations. And you know, we get gifted things, like we got gifted the paint for our kitchen from Lick, and that shouldn't go without saying. So yeah, we're very lucky, we work hard, but we also do earn good money. So if you're someone who doesn't earn good money, you're on minimum wage and you're struggling and you can't afford a first home, or you've bought your first home and you can only just afford to, you know, do tiny little bits at a time, don't think that that's inadequate or that that's like not what most people are doing, because that's the reality of a lot of people too. Just don't stretch yourself because you're watching other people online doing lots and lots and lots. Do it bit by bit to your budget, and take your time with it. So I think that's a good one to end on, some reality there. I sort of quietened up about this recently because of feedback from people, and probably because I was just listening to a small minority who got annoyed about a woman online talking about money. And I believe more strongly, politically and passionately, that we should have more women talking about money and how they spend it, how they earn it, so that we can empower others to do the same. And I think it's a shame to tell people to silence themselves when there are men, talking about money all the time and being applauded for it. And when it comes to home renovations, it's something that I think is kept stum. And I follow people and I'm like, how much did that cost you? I would like to know, so then I know for when I do it. So I'm gonna try and be a bit more open whilst also being considerate, and I'm not boasting. It's just, I hope this helps some people, because it's a request that I've had quite a lot. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Definitely check out Female Invest. I will leave them linked below, all the information. Thank you again to them for sponsoring today's video. And I'll see you in the next renovation video for all the exciting updates, because it's all going on in our kitchen. Subscribe and give this video a like, and I'll see you next time. Bye.